Hello everybody, welcome back to Red Tool House. On today's video, I have to address the monster that I've created. Kelly loves this new deck that we built, but some of the furniture that we had on our tiny little porch isn't working out. So this little table that's that I built years ago for her to be able to set her coffee on, that's not getting it done. It's causing some problems. So we're going to run down to the workshop and we're going to try to build a simple table out of beech, and I've not worked with a lot of beech before, so we're going to give that a shot. Just be a couple evenings down at the workshop. Let's see if we can get it done. Okay, so what I did was based upon the material I had. I have some beech that I milled. I'm not sure when I milled it. I'll post a graphic here that shows when I milled it, but I did do a video about it, so if you want to watch the video here. But the beech has been in the barn loft for that entire time, getting nice and dry. I brought a couple pieces inside the shop a month or two ago, ran them through the planer just to see how they plane out, and they turned out really nice. So they've just been kind of hanging out here. So I actually had my design be based off the fact that I had two 12-foot long boards that were about 8 inches wide and 3/4 inch thick. So that's what I've based my design on. So I went to SketchUp, put together a quick design, something I thought would be simple to build, but still look pretty cool. The idea with the top, I want a little bit of a lip around the top so that things don't get knocked off as easy. That little lip will kind of keep cups and things from getting blown over or knocked over if they're bumped. And then also I just want the top to be able to sit down in that. It's not going to be hard fastened. I want to have a little bit of gap, no glue around that lip, because this is going to be outside and it's going to get rained on. So I want water to be able to kind of seep down through those cracks and seams and not create a puddle there. And of course, expansion would be an issue too, so multi-function there. So last night I was just sizing my boards and doing some glue ups, and I just did a quick time lapse of that. There's nothing exciting about that, but here's my top, and it's roughly going to be 14 inches wide by, I think I'm going to make the table around 26 inches long. So this top will accommodate those dimensions. So I did my my glue up of two boards. You can see how that turned out. So we'll just do a little bit of sanding, get those seams to lay down. And of course, we'll only need to dress up really one side so much. So we'll set that here. And then also glued up legs. So there's 3/4 inch thick boards, 3.5 inches wide, glued together in a sandwich. So I've got 4 of those, of course, and that gives me my... So the material that I had pretty much dictated the dimension of the legs. So the two 3/4 inch pieces create 1.5 inches thickness, and then the width, knowing that I had an 8-inch board with a little bit of funkiness to it, I cut them at 3.5 and some change, knowing that I'll need some sacrifice after my glue ups because the seams weren't super clean there. Get everybody separated here. Oh, say, what in the world? We had some spillover there, that's why. I didn't glue them all together. That's okay, I can fix that pretty quick. So there's one leg, 2 legs. Oh my goodness. Three and 4 legs. And so what that leaves me for material for my trestle and the actual little tray lip around the edge leaves me this one board. It's about 6 feet, 6.5 feet long. So we'll use that to make those components. But first, I'm going to get the legs dressed up and get them shaped. And then we're going to start cutting out our pieces here. I think we're going to do mortise and tenon joinery. Fire up the mortiser. It's buried over there. So we'll get it fired up. and do a little bit of mortise and tenon joinery. I think that'll be fun to do. So I'm putting this tiny little shim on here because I want to make sure my legs are exactly the same length, so it's easier to set up a stop block on the table saw and cut it that way. So this little shim will allow me to get a stop block set up so I can cut my legs all the same length. And I have the shim stopped short, so by the time we come in contact with the saw, there's a gap here. And that keeps us, just in case there be a little bit of twist, it's safe that it doesn't get into a bind and either throw the wood back at me or just chew up the leg. So the next thing I want to do with the legs is put my little angle detail on it. I like some asymmetrical stuff. So I took one of my cutoffs, did a test, just coming down 1 inch, doing a 45 on the table saw, and I like the look of that. Obviously we'll round it over, we'll smooth these rough edges, but I like the look of that. I think that's just going to give it a little bit of, just a little bit of detail, keep it from looking too blocky. All right, so I think the next thing I do before I start cutting any mortises is I want to get my rails ready. All the smaller pieces, the rails to the top tray, and then the trestle connections down at the bottom, and make sure I can get all that out of this one board. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 individual pieces. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individual pieces. All 1.5 inches wide, 3/4 thick, and then varying lengths. Okay, so I really took my time to do my layout. I checked and double checked my mortise placements and lined them up. That's why I laid it out here, so I can visualize the table legs and make sure everything's lined up there. So I think we're good there. And I've got the mortiser set up over here, but it's been a long time since I've used this machine. I had to clean out around it. I've got it set up with our first board there to test, but I don't have any lights. My bulbs, I haven't bought fluorescent bulbs in probably 10 years, so that's how long it's been since I've used this machine. So I'm going to be over here in the dark, I think. We'll see how it goes. Get over here in the light where we can see that a little better. So there we go. You know, that was interesting. So everything seemed to work. My chisels, I believe, are a little dull just because they've been sitting so long. I think they've oxidized a touch. But I've got all my, what would that be, 12 mortises cut. Just going to clean them out here a little bit with a chisel. And then we'll be ready to start cutting some tenons and doing some test fitting. All right, so I got my dado stack set up and been doing some testing here. And the reason why I put a dado on, it makes it quicker, but I don't know if you can see this. Let's go around here. A lot of saws, they're not flat on the top of the teeth. So you get these grooves as you come around. See how the grooves are cut in the tenon, but with a dado saw, dado blade, you get a lot less lines in that. There's a couple little tiny ones. So anyway, so I got that set up. Did a test fit. And she's very snug, which is fine. That's what we want. Snug is good. So now I just got to run these 6 pieces through there and dado them. Okay, got it all dry fit together. I think she's going to work. Yep. So now what I'm going to do is take sections apart one at a time, sand them, get them all cleaned up, and I have to mark them somehow. I'll probably mark them on the inside of the tenons. That way I'll know which goes where, because it's got a good fit. Got everything snugged up nice. The trestle, I changed my mind on how I'm going to do the trestle, the span there. I was going to mortise these, but it just doesn't give enough seat for that to go into, because it's only 3/4 inch thick. So I think what I'm going to do, the table's upside down obviously, I'm going to do kind of an old school notch and just notch out this cross piece, put a little decorative, probably put the same 1 angle cut on it, and then that'll just fit down over that properly and give me the span that I need. And that'll actually use that to not only strengthen the base, but also make sure my span is the same as it is up here. We'll measure from here to here and then from here to here, make sure we've got that accurately dialed in. Or I could even just take the same, just lay this here and mark my notches there. Use the dado to cut those out and be able to drop that in. All right, well, now's the non-fun part of sanding. All right, so everything's sanded. So what I'm going to do, we'll see how this works out. I'm going to go ahead and put it together with glue ups. So we'll do glue, put it all together. I'm going to assemble it here. And while that's together, then I'll be able to measure accurately my span for my trestle board. And then I'll get that prepped and ready and drop it in. And I think that'll work. We'll see. In my mind, it works. Phone battery died on me. Had to quickly readjust. Fortunately, I had a charging cable down here. Okay. Yeah, I built a perfectly good assembly table. It's over there with scores and scores of stuff lying on it. All right, so that's kind of working in our favor. The band clamp, of course, is drawing things tight. The band clamp, of course, is drawing things tight in, so it wants to draw the legs in, but the trestle piece there is keeping it from doing so. And I think that'll work out nicely. I'm actually going to let that dry that way and not permanently attach the trestle until tomorrow. I think we got everything. I just wanted to come back and break some of these edges off. Had to take my chisel and clean up a little bit of squeeze out that dried before I could get it with the cloth. I still don't have the trestle component attached yet, but that made all the difference in the world dropping that thing in there. Took it out of tension, got it squared up. My table saw table's pretty flat, so we're good to go there. So I think what I'm going to do is put this together. It'd be a shame to put a fastener in this since I don't have fasteners anywhere else, but maybe ideal just to put one brad right down through there and glue. That way I can go straight to putting my stain on. But we're going to work on the top next anyway. So maybe I'll just glue it up, clamp it, and set it aside. It's a cross grain glue up with that trestle, so it's really not going to be structural. It just needs to be kept in place. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I want the top just to sit down in this. These are 1.5 inches high, so if it sits flush with the bottom, then there should be 3/4 of an inch of a lip. And the way we're going to attach that is I have these aluminum angle pieces, and I'm just going to attach them here, just below that, and we'll screw them in. And we'll use brass screws so they can handle the weather. And that'll just make a lip for that to hang on to. And I may you put a single screw here and here to hold it in place. And if that doesn't take out, if there's any rocking or anything in it, then I can just put another one over here and here. and not screw it so it just holds it like a shelf edge. May do that anyway. Okay, so got my brackets in. Went ahead and did the side ones. I think that'll work. Like I said, single screw point here, up through the top of the table. But now I'll cut my dimensions of the top. We'll get everything finalized. And I want to be inside the brackets. Well, that's a swing and a miss. That thing doesn't even begin to fit in there. What in the world was I thinking? Houston, we have a problem. And that problem is, I'm an idiot. Just a bit outside. That may work. I don't think she'll notice. Maybe I'll put a trash receptacle right here and drop your trash down in. No, that's not going to work. Clearly. So I got up in the barn, got another beech board down, and we'll redo. Who says we don't show mistakes on YouTube? Okay, so ran that back through the planer just to get it smooth, and it's going to be a little bit thinner than I wanted it to be. I don't think we stayed at 3/4 inch because my glue up got a little wonky. Yeah, 5/8, so I lost 1/8 of an inch. It is what it is. So I got a 14 and 3/8 wide board, and 14 even is what we need. And I really have a nice, I don't know if you can see this, but I got a nice book match going on here. Even though these boards weren't side by side, a little bit of the sapwood stripe goes through here. Now I like the symmetry of that. The line makes the line visible. So what we're going to do is, instead of just taking 3/8 off one side and have it be off center, I'm going to take 3/16 off both sides. At least that's the plan. All right, I'm going to run my 2 screws up from the bottom. There's just a little bit of pitch in that, and I think it's because of my side brackets are high. I think it'll be all right. So I argued with myself for about 15 minutes before I turned the camera back on what I'm going to put on this. And going through all the stuff that I have, some of it's aged pretty well. I'm going to test this Australian Timber Oil by Cabot. Haven't used that in a long time. We're going to do a test piece here before we get into it. So I'll take my cutoff that has the snipe. We'll see how this goes. The reason why I want to use this is more of a deep penetrating exterior wood use. It does require multiple coats over the years. It's mahogany color, so I'll see if I like the color or not. It's red. me check something else. Walnut. All right, I have a winner. Going to the walnut. The cabot oil, that mahogany. I don't know, it just looks like it's Cheeto colored to me. This looks a little bit more natural. I've got the only finish I have as far as protective goes is polyacrylic, and that's not really supposed to be used for exterior, so we'll see, put this coating on to see how she does. All right, I'm happy with where we landed there. I think that turned out pretty good. I like that stain much better than the mahogany color. Well, I'm going to let it cure here a little bit more. Instructions say it takes about 3 hours. So I'm going to just let it hang out here under the fan and get a little hard. And then we'll come put it in a spot and let Kelly give an eyeball to it and see what she thinks.